והגיענו לזמן הזה, שהחיינו וקיימנו, והגיענו לזמן הזה, שהחיינו וקיימנו, והגיענו לזמן הזה, שהחיינו וקיימנו, והגיענו לזמן הזה, ברוך אתה השם, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו קיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה, ברוך אתה השם, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו קיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה, ברוך אתה השם, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה, ברוך אתה השם, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Beautiful. So I could totally put you guys on the spot and ask you to sing Mim Komo for me, but I won't do that. But I will very much look forward to the day when I can hear the four of you singing Mim Komo again. So thank you so much. That was beautiful. I think that was just one song. And now over onto the beautiful Chaya.
Thank you very much, Romy, for your introduction. Thank you, boys. That was really awesome. And uplifting, upbeat. I definitely echo Romy that we can't wait to have you back in shul singing for us together like that. So please God, it should be soon. So my talk, so I'm just going to speak for a few minutes tonight. It's great to see everyone on the program today. Really miss you so much. Tonight's topic, Simcha and healing. When I saw that on the poster, I right away just thought about personal experience that I sort of went through like not even so long ago. And I was like, okay, I need to this with the crowd tonight. Sorry, there was just okay. So here goes. Sukkot is Zman Chayroteinu. It's the time of Zman Simchatenu. It's the time of joy, which means that there's an extra boost from above to kind of carry on with life with joy. It doesn't mean that we only be joyous during Sukkot, and then when Sukkot is over, we go back to average or melancholy. God forbid, not at all. It just means that there's a spiritual boost for us to kind of go forward a little bit in the aspect of joy. And who doesn't need joy? In fact, how is it possible to live life without joy? And what do I mean by that? I think that some people look at joy and put it in the wrong order. I think some people, myself included, sometimes think that happiness or joy comes at the end once everything else is in order. So, like once life is in order and things are working out and kids are cooperating or whatever it is for you, career, finances, health, all the big things which really, really, really are important and that we all really struggle with at different points in our lives. Sometimes we think that, once all that is in order, then we get to a state of joy and happiness, then we can be happy and enjoy, the gifts that Hashem has blessed us with. And this is what the Americans say in I can't even say the word, the rights of humans, that, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And there's kind of this perspective out there that happiness is a pursuit. It's something that you chase after. It's something that you work towards. It's a destination. It's a place that you want to go off, you know, at the end of this journey called, or, you know, somewhere along that you're trying to get there. But actually, this is not the Jewish approach at all. Judaism does not see happiness as a destination. It's not a place to go and it's not something to achieve, but rather it is, you know, instead of being the last rung on the ladder, it's actually the first. It's the very, very first step that kind of propels us up that ladder, because we are always climbing a ladder. We always have a challenge and we always have a goal, and we're always, you know, there's always a new day and there's always things that we're working towards. And if we wait to have everything in order to finally get to joy, I believe that we'll be waiting for a very long time. And it kind of just makes life really, really difficult. Judaism says the opposite. Judaism says, step on joy first. You know, let joy be the battery that gets you through the hard things, the fuel that gets you through the challenges or the goals or whatever it is. And that makes life so, so, so much easier. So in other words, we don't wait until everything is perfect and then celebrate, but we celebrate even through the mess and through the challenge and through the tears. We just do both. You know, Judaism is one big paradox. You can just be everything at the same time. Why? Because Hashem is everything at the same time. And we all have a spark of Hashem. Hashem is infinite, so we are infinite. So before I share with you, you know, that experience that I went through, which is very, very powerful and actually still gives me oxygen till today, I just want to point out where in Torah we get this perspective from. So this actually comes from those amazing women in Egypt. I'm sure, you know, we've all heard about these amazing women in Egypt. They were so courageous and they were so heroic, but I'll just tell you one thing about them. And this is what happened. You know, there was this big thing, the sea split, made it through the other side. Egyptians all drowned. Everyone is happy. Well, not the Egyptians, but, you know, the Jewish nation, sense of relief, enemies gone. And they burst out into song and dance, you know, on the other side of the sea, once the chaos has settled, burst out into song and dance with gratitude to Hashem. And they were very modest. So the men were singing and dancing in their area and the women were singing and dancing in their area. But all of a sudden, from the women's section comes the most magnificent sounds of music in addition to all the singing. There was this beautiful music that was coming from them. And, you know, for a minute it was like, wait a second, where did they get music from? How did they, you know, create music so quickly? We just got off the sea, out of the sea. Where did this music come from? And, you know, how did they put it together so quickly? So actually the answer was they didn't put it together so quickly because it wasn't right then that they created these musical instruments. They had these music instruments ready decades before, while the slavery was still in its darkest and most hectic and most intense suffering that they were going through. In the midst of that darkness, they said there's going to become a time that this is going to be over. Hashem is going to take us out and we're going to need to thank him. So let's prepare the music now. Let's have the celebration ready now in the midst of all the mess. Let's not wait until everything is perfect and then create our music. Let's create it now. And that's what they did. They created tambourines and they had them ready all this time. As soon as it was time to leave Egypt, they grabbed it with them, ran out of Egypt, landed in the desert, and they had their tambourines ready to celebrate. That's the Jewish perspective. You celebrate before. You don't wait until, you know, everything is perfect. So what was the story that happened to me? Look, by no means have I totally internalized this idea and, you know, live by this. I wish I would, because then life would be so much easier. So definitely it's something that I strive to kind of process and internalize. But I had an amazing experience with this once, just a couple months ago at the beginning of lockdown. Which was so powerful. And like I said, it literally keeps me going until today. So what was the story? So I'm sure you're aware that way back, like even before lockdown, my dad picked up coronavirus in New York. This was before anything. This was before even New York knew that they had coronavirus. That's why he traveled there. And he picked it up not knowing, and he came back and he got very sick, and he landed up in hospital, and he was on a ventilator for, I think, 17 days in critical condition, until with the most amazing miracles of Hashem, he recovered, Baruch Hashem, and he's fully recovered, with utter gratitude that, you know, our family has to Hashem for his recovery. But what happened on this particular day, this was the day that my father's condition turned like for the worse. It turned like really bad. He had been admitted into hospital. It was a crazy situation because we all had to be in quarantine. We were not, this was before lockdown actually came into our country. We were already in quarantine because we had contact with him. So none of us were allowed to go to the hospital. We had to just send him off. We didn't know who he was seeing. It was very hard to be in contact with doctors. It was an extremely intense, stressful, worrisome situation. Then what happens is that, you know, he gets like transferred to a different hospital. We don't know where he is. My husband was the only one who was allowed to leave because he hadn't been in contact with him. So he was allowed to go find. So he traveled to the hospital, you know, met him there in the room. And all of a sudden the situation turned really bad. And they saw that they had to put him on a ventilator. So there was like decisions to make, getting in touch with the doctors, kind of convincing my dad. My dad wasn't sure what was going on, that he had to sign to go on this ventilator. What was happening in my house at the time is that I had all the kids. I was stressed out of my mind. I had like everything was crazy. And it was my little son, Maya's birthday, and he was turning 6. And he was planning this birthday since the morning after his 5-year-old party. So we had an amazing 5-year-old party, and I thought that would keep him happy for a good few months before we have to hear about birthdays again. But the very next morning he woke up and he started telling me what he wanted for his 6-year-old birthday. And I had not stopped hearing it the entire year. So now he needs to have some sort of birthday, but obviously he can't have any friends. That was already, you know, not allowed. And we had to somehow try and make the day special for Maya at home. That was just 2 examples of what was going on, but there was a lot more going on, and I was not coping. Comes my sister-in-law, dear friend of mine, on the family chat, and we all knew that the situation was critical, and we all knew that he was going on a ventilator, and we all knew that it was serious, and we also knew that we had no idea what was flying, and we also knew that we had no idea how the hospitals are going to be able to treat this unknown virus in our country, how they're going to respond to it. We all knew that, you know, it was shaky. And she comes onto the family chat on WhatsApp and she says, let's have a family dance party. Not let's all get together and say Tehillim. Okay, we were anyways doing that. Let's come together and have a family dance party on Zoom. And that was like scratch a head moment, like not quite, that's not really the vibe of the moment. We are a little bit stressed, yeah, and this is critical and it's not a joke, and we're really not in that headspace, just in case you didn't notice. And anyways, she insists. So we actually did a Zoom and we got all the kids and she played music, fun, you know, Barbie music, and she's going on with it. And, you know, the kids started to get in the mood, and I'm holding the baby and I'm jigging her, you know, just to like calm her to the beat, etc. And all of a sudden, you know, we're getting more and more into it and everybody dancing. We just get more and more, and she's playing these songs and we are literally just dancing. We are saying, God, we trust that there's going to be a positive outcome. We are not waiting to celebrate at the end. We'll celebrate now because we are so confident that you, Hashem, are going to, you know, lead us to a good place. And we danced away for a very, very long time. And I literally, like I said, I all of a sudden started to breathe again. All of a sudden I started to breathe. I could, you know, just kind of cope with the day, with the kids, with myself. I could literally just start breathing air because I don't think I was breathing. I don't know, I must have been breathing, but I didn't feel like I was breathing. And it was the most incredible experience. It literally was the most, it gave me the strength to get through the day and the following days, because it was a very, very, like I said, uncertain situation, and it got worse before it got better. It literally gave me the strength to carry through the days. And over the next coming days, you know, the next weeks, while, the situation was still quite tough and scary, whenever I felt like too overwhelmed and not coping with, all the emotion and all the fear and whatever it was, I literally used to go into my bedroom, lock the door, put on headphones, put the music on highest volume until I could not hear anything else but music, loud, like bursting my eardrums, and dance away like nobody was looking. And this literally was the only way that I survived. Not survived, but coped, like literally just was able to get through in a normal state, kind of getting through this difficult time. So that was my experience that I wanted to share with you. The point over there is, that we can wait until everything works out to celebrate, or we celebrate first because we know that we are in good hands. That's what the women in Egypt taught me. And Baruch Hashem, my dad, thank God, he made it and he recovered. And, everyone can have their personal thought on this, but my personal feeling is that those dancing, that joy kind of broke through barriers up there. And it's true that Tehillim has tremendous power. And we did say Tehillim, we didn't stop saying Tehillim. We had a rolling, whatever it's called, roster, that there was never a moment that somebody wasn't saying Tehillim for him. So definitely Tehillim has power, but in my mind, in addition to that, I attribute his recovery to the fact that as a family, we rejoiced with this trust that Hashem's going to take us through. So here's my little tip. Joy is the battery that gets us through. Tip to cultivate joy is to know that we are in good hands. We are in Hashem's hands. He is only a good, loving Father. He only wants the best for us. He only does good. And if we kind of just get our perspective right, that we are in Hashem's hands, and just remind ourselves over and over and over again, we're in Hashem's hands. He's got this. He's got this. I think it can help us cultivate, that joy, which should, please God, bring healing to whoever needs healing, and salvation to whoever needs salvation, help to whoever needs help. Only brachas, and lead us into the ultimate simcha, the real simcha of Mashiach that we should be celebrating. And by the way, I have a tambourine on my wall in my entrance hall. I have a tambourine and my daughters have tambourines, and we're ready to shake our tambourines when Mashiach comes, because we are confident that he is on our doorstep. So that's my message for tonight. Thank you so much for listening. Please, guys, should be brachas for everyone. I hand back to the next person on our program. I hand back to Romy.
Keli ata beyodeka Elokai aromemeka Keli ata beyodeka Elokai aromemeka Keli ata ve'odeka Elokai aromemeka Keli ata ve'odeka Elokai aromemeka Hodu Hashem ki tov ki leolam chasto Hodu Hashem ki tov ki leolam chasto.
Beautiful, Ori. Thank you so much. And I can acknowledge it's probably not easy to sing alone to a screen. So Shkach, we appreciate the beautiful music and thank you. And I wanted to wish us, do you know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is our anniversary. It was years ago when you and I, no, what's wrong?
Tanya, you roamed.
Oh gosh,
You have
can
to
you hear
start
me
again.
normally now?
Yeah, start again.
Oh, sorry. So I said, you know what? I said, you know that tomorrow is our anniversary, yours and mine, because it was Shmini Atzeret 9 years ago when you asked, and it's been one, thank God, happy and beautiful friendship from then. So please God, to many, many more years of friendship and happy times together. And we now turn over to you, Tam.
Thank you so much, and hello everyone, and thank you for having me on this program. So yes, Romy, I recommend anyone who needs a place to stay for Shmini Atzeret to I'm offering Romy services. It was fabulous, and thank God our friendship has grown in leaps and bounds. So thank you for that, and it's awesome to be on the Zoom with you and Chaya, really special. Chaya, you're just always an inspiration, so thank you for that. And Ori, that is my favorite song. So that is incredible that it was sung just before I spoke. I literally sing that song almost every night to my children, and it's very much been part of my upbringing and my parents, my family, my siblings. So thank you for that. So just to continue the theme of joy from what Chai was saying, it says that the mitzvah of bringing the arba minim, the 4 species, on Sukkot, taking the 4 species, the lulav, the esrog, the hadas, and the arava, and putting them together, the palm branch, the myrtle, the willow tree, and the etrog, the citron fruit, you put it together, you shake it, and it says that it brings so much joy. So it's a strange thing. What do you mean? You shake it and suddenly you're happy. Like magic, simsalabim, I'm suddenly all happy now that I've shaken the lulav and esrog. So unfortunately, there was a rumor that was going around, which I was a bit concerned about during the Sukkot, that that we could only actually do the blessing on 3 of the species, on the esrog, the lulav, and the hadas, because unfortunately the willow tree, the arava, had no smell and no taste, so it had to be quarantined. Anyway, it's quite hard not to see anyone's faces or anyone's reaction, but Chaya, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for that. Also thought it was quite funny. So what is that connected to the topic of tonight? So one of the things that was sent out is that it spoke about my recovery from COVID. And yes, I did lose my taste and smell. And that is one of the signs, the very much first signs of having COVID. And what does it mean to be a recovered COVID? What does it mean to be a recovered anything, in fact, a recovered addict, a recovered anything? And so unfortunately, what happens is that when someone has an illness or an addiction, while they're in it, they're so consumed with that illness and that addiction that they're just in survival mode. And what happens when they actually are recovered? That's when the work starts. That's when they say, okay, now every single day I'm going to have to work and think about that drink that I'm not going to take, or those drugs that I'm not going to take, or what happens now. And so I would like to just talk about 2 out of the 4 species and the lessons I learned during COVID. So when I got tested and I heard that I was positive, I thought, the first thought was like, oi, like, oh my gosh. And I started thinking, well, how could it be? And where did I get it from? And oh my gosh. And I got so stuck in, where did I pick this up? Because, I'm constantly sanitizing my hands, and I'm constantly wearing my mask, and I'm constantly doing social distancing, and how could this be? And I was just so stuck in, where could this be? And it's almost like I needed to blame someone or blame something as to why I've got this. And yeah, what did that actually mean? And so I needed to, it was all about me being in control. And we know at the end of the day that Hashem's in control. Just like I said, Hashem is the one that gives us everything, does everything. And so I had to realize that it's not about who gave it to me, and the guilt that I felt when I thought, the second thing I thought was, oh my gosh, now what? Now I have to think about who I was around in the last couple of days and who I might have infected, and that constant guilt of like, oh my gosh, I hope no one else gets COVID because of me. And so I kind of had to let go as well. And as Edith Eger, who is the incredible woman, who is the author of both The Choice, she's a Holocaust survivor, and so she wrote The Choice, and the new book that just came out that I've also read, because I'm a big fan of hers, is The Gift. And she says, it's not about why me, because I thought, oh my gosh, why me? It's about what now? What am I going to do now about it? So I had to let go and say, I'm not in control, but Hashem's in control, and what do I do about it now? And so I want to talk about two of the 4 Arba Minim. The first one is the willow, which I kept on thinking, there has to be a significance in terms of the smell and taste, the fact that I lost it, the fact that this particular virus makes you lose your smell and taste. And in fact, we learn that the 4 species have 4 different not personalities, 4 different characteristics. And the Arava is the one that has no smell and no taste. And what did it mean for me? So I thought about it, and I thought about a person who, doesn't necessarily has a loss or a deficiency in a certain sense, one of their senses, their 5 senses. So if they have a loss of hearing or loss of sight or loss of taste or loss of whatever it is, then the other senses overcompensate. And so for me, it was an incredible thing because Hashem took that away, but another aspect had to overcompensate. And so just because my physical aspect was taken away, my spirituality had to be heightened and overcompensated for it. And it was incredible how, pre-COVID, if you were sick or, you were at home or you're doing other things and you wanted to go to shiur, the only way you could go was actually go to the shiur. So if a shiur was at Linksfield Shul or at Chabad House or at Aish or wherever it was, you had to be there to be part of that shiur. And post-COVID, the most incredible thing is that the tangible effect of social media and everything else and Zoom, whatever it was, is that my spirituality was completely heightened. Hashem gave me the opportunity of taste and smell within Torah and mitzvahs, and I'm going to elaborate on that further during this evening, which I found so unbelievable. The fact that I couldn't do anything else except for lie in my bed and put on my phone, put on the Zoom and listen to Torah, words of Torah, and to be exposed to the incredible mitzvahs of this community, people who just literally were at my house constantly. The bells did not stop ringing. That Nachi actually didn't know what to do with himself. He's like, I can't believe I have to go to the door again. But it was just so incredible, the mitzvahs of the community and of my friends and my family, who just, the outpouring of just food and whatever else. Somebody dropped off a magazine, and there were just so many things being dropped off that I wasn't even aware, but it was just so incredible. The other incredible thing about the Arava and being the smell and taste is that what does smell actually, what does smell represent? What does taste represent? So smell represents the past. It's memory. That when you smell a certain smell, you can say, oh my gosh, that reminds me of my childhood. Or, I have a tree in my garden called Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. And it's actually, it's very much grows now in the summer, and every time I smell it, I think of my childhood, because my parents had a Yesterday, Today, Tomorrow in their garden. And smell is very much that memory, as well as taste is very much future. That when you want to taste something, you first smell it, so you start salivating, and then you only taste the food, and that is very much our future. And what Hashem did for me in that time of having COVID was that He took that away. He said, don't worry about the past and don't worry about the future. Just forget about your taste and smell. Forget about what's happening around you and dwelling on the past and thinking and being anxious about what's happening in the future. Hashem said, be in the present, be in the now. And that is definitely something that I learned from COVID. And that was incredible. So, yeah. So let's go on to the esrog. The esrog is a citron fruit, and the citron fruit is has both taste and smell. And it's called, when we learn about taking the citron fruit, it doesn't say that take an esrog, it says take a pre-eitz hadar, take a splendid fruit of the tree. So there are many questions that are asked about this. First of all, how do we know that it's an esrog? How do we know that this is the splendid fruit of a tree? And also there's a redundancy in the sentence where it says a fruit of a tree, a splendid fruit of a tree, because we know that a fruit tree produces fruit. It doesn't produce chickens or I don't know what else. So obviously a fruit tree is going to produce fruit. So why do we have all these questions? And one of the reasons why we know that it's an esrog is that it says that this unique tree, this pre-eitz hadar, this beautiful, splendid fruit, the uniqueness of this tree was that the tree reflected the fruit and the fruit reflected the tree. And what does that mean? It means that the actual tree, the actual bark of the tree tastes exactly like the fruit. And it says that no other tree is like that. And this first MS says that in Bereshit, when Hashem created the world, on day 3, one of the things that Hashem created were fruit trees. It says that it says in the pasuk, let the earth sprout vegetation, seed-yielding herbs and fruit trees producing fruit according to its kind, in which is seed found on earth. So fruit-bearing trees. Once again, why does it have to repeat that? And it says that on that day, the earth actually rebelled, and the fruit trees, the actual trees of the fruit, decided that they're not going to taste like the actual fruit. But there was one tree that didn't rebel, and that was the etrog tree. The etrog tree that continued to for the tree to actually taste just like the fruit, and no other trees did that. Only the fruit actually tasted like fruit. What is this whole thing? Why do we care? Why is Hashem telling us this? All the details, the fruit should taste like the tree and the tree should taste like the fruit, and the earth rebelled, and what is it? I mean, does the earth actually sin? And going into all these details, what is this whole thing? So let's actually look at a tree. And what is the goal of a tree? Well, in fact, what's the goal of a fruit tree? To produce fruit. But if you say, oh, I want a fruit tree, and you've got a little seed, you plant the seed, you're not going to get the fruit tree tomorrow. There's a process. So you plant the seed, you water the seed, then the trunk needs to grow, the roots need to grow, then the trunk, then the branches, then the leaves, and only the fruit is the ultimate goal, but it's the latest stage of the actual tree. Some trees take 3 to 4 years to produce fruit. Some trees take 10 years to produce fruit. And in fact, it talks about the palm tree that it takes 20 to 30 years to produce fruit. So this is based on our lives, is that at the end of the day, we all have goals. And when we want those goals, we need to work for them. I know from personal experience, or shall I say my husband's personal experience, but obviously I've been part of this experience with him, is that he had a dream when he was 9 years old to become a doctor. And Baruch Hashem, he finished studying at the end of last year after 17 years of studying. And yeah, his goal is to be a doctor, and it took him 17 years. So Rome wasn't built in a day. There is this process, just like a tree, that things have to grow and things have to produce, and then only then can you actually have the fruit. And even after that, there's still work to be done. So what is life about? Is life about our destination? Is it about the journey? Is it both? What in fact is it all about? And I know I've spoken about this before at Linksfield Shul, is that we're always looking for the next step. When we're in primary school, we think, oh, it's so difficult, I can't wait to be in high school. And when we're in high school, we think, oh, it would be so nice to finish school and carry on my studies, or to travel the world, or take off a gap year. And then when we do the gap year, we think, well, this is not life. Life is about getting married. And then you get married and you think, well, oh gosh, I probably should go back to the gap year. And I'm kidding. You think, well, is this ultimately life? And you think, well, no, that's not life. Having children is the ultimate goal. And then you have children and you think, oh my gosh, now I can't wait to get rid of them, because then I can start living life, because it's just such hard work, and I just have to be so selfless, and I can't focus on myself. So what is life all about? And so what is Hashem actually teaching us about the details of the fruit and the fruit tree and the reflecting each other? And the whole idea is that, what does it mean that the earth rebelled? In fact, the earth didn't rebel. It's because us, our human nature is so limited that our perception is that the fruit doesn't, the fruit, the actual tree doesn't have the taste of the fruit. But ultimately, Hashem's intention was that every tree should taste like the fruit, that every part of our journey, all the way from the seed to the roots, to the trunk, to the leaves, to the branches, the leaves, the fruit, it's all part of the same thing. It all needs to have that sweetness, that taste of a fruit, that passionate protection of what the fruit has. And so Hashem said that in your journey of life, that when you're studying for medicine, when you are a mother with your children, when you are pregnant for 9 months, those 9 months or whatever the detail is so important, and it should be as sweet as the final destination. I know that, well, for some of you who do know or don't know, I'm a nursery school teacher, and I love the art side of it as much as many other things. And over many years of teaching, I've realized and I've learned that the process is not only as important, but sometimes more important than the end goal. You know, often we'll send home crafts and the parents will think like, well, what is this and what did you do? You know, it just looks like, I don't even know what. Sometimes I can't even tell what these kids have made. So for example, the craft that I did with the kids just before Sukkot is that we made a sukkah. But how did we make the sukkah? We went and collected leaves, and we touched the leaves, and we smelt the leaves, and then we painted with the leaves. And we saw that there were different color leaves, and it's not all just the same green leaves. And the sticks that we painted the sukkah with, it's so much in the process. And where do we learn this appreciation? We learn it through the kids. And I see this all the time, and I'm so grateful that I'm in that environment, because I really can learn from children who appreciate every part of the detail. They love touching and smelling, and often even the younger kids, they're putting things in their mouth constantly because they want to feel and they want to taste every single part of life. And unfortunately, when we get older, we kind of lose it. We lose that appreciation, that sensitivity of, this is all from Hashem, and this is what I need to appreciate and be part of. And so back to what I was saying of being a recovered COVID, is that COVID will always be with me. But what does that mean? Just like a Holocaust survivor will always be a Holocaust survivor, not for people to feel sorry for you, not for people to pity you, not for people to say, oh my gosh, it's so hectic and it's so hard and whatever, but to say that, what lessons have I learned and what am I going to achieve in life, and how am I going to take those lessons into my future? So I just want to end with a story of how a man, the age of 93 years old, in Italy, he recovered from COVID, and the doctors came on the last day when he was about to leave, and they gave him the bill for his ventilator, and he started crying, and the doctor said, no, don't cry over the bill of the ventilator. And the old man said, I don't cry because of the money I have to pay. I can pay all the money. I cry because I've been breathing God's air for 93 years, but I never had to pay anything for it. But for using a ventilator in your hospital for just one day, I have to pay 5,000 euros. I realize now how much I owe God. I never thanked God for it before. And so I want to take this opportunity to thank Hashem for everything that I've had, for everything that I've been through, for the journey that I've gone through now, for having COVID. Obviously, I didn't ask for it, and I wouldn't want anyone else to go through it, but Hashem did give it to me. And I have to see it as an opportunity to share it with you. I know that when I was asked to speak tonight, I was first very hesitant, and then I said to myself, it's selfish. I need to share the lessons that I've learned with others, because ultimately, what has COVID taught us? COVID taught us that it's affected everyone in the world, no matter what, no matter if you've had it or not had it. And it doesn't matter what color, what shape, what fame, what money you have, it's affected each and every one of us. So I also want to take the opportunity to thank every single one of you, because I know everyone who's on this program really gave me the strength on a physical, a spiritual, and emotional level. And so thank you so much, and have a Chag Sameach.
אתה בחרתנו מכל העמים, אהבת אותנו ורצית בנו ורמתנו מכל השונות, אהבת אותנו ורצית בנו ורממתנו מכל השונות, וקידשתנו במצוותיך במצוותיך, וקרבתנו מלכנו לעבודתך, בשמך הגדול הגדול והקדוש עלינו קראת, בשמך הגדול הגדול והקדוש עלינו קראת. אתה בחרתנו מכל העמים, אהבת אותנו ורצית בנו, רוממתנו מכל השונות, אהבת אותנו ורצית בנו ורוממתנו מכל השונות, וקידשתנו במצוותיך, במצוותיך, וקרבתנו מלכנו לעבודתך, בשמך הגדול הגדול והקדוש עלינו קראת, בשמך הגדול הגדול והקדוש עלינו קראת.
Shkrach, Gavi, thank you so much. And once again, a big shout out. We know it's very hard to sing alone to a screen. So thank you so much to you and to all the rest of our beautiful singer, the beautiful music that we've heard tonight, and for the beautiful Divrei Torah from Tamar and from Chaya. So I'd now like to hand over to Kalita Hoffman, who is running the most magnificent project with delivering challahs, and it was inspired by a process that she went through with her son. So Kalita, welcome. And if you can please tell us a little bit about what your program is about. Wait, you muted?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. A brief overview of who I am, so you have a bit of context into my project. My name is Kalita Hoffman. In my day-to-day, I am a corporate lawyer, but more importantly, I am a mother of two wonderful children. My son, who is now 3 years old, has had about 10 surgeries in his life. He was born with a cleft lip and palate. He had about 5 surgeries in his first year. He is currently trying to challenge, and our family is conquering a cleft lip and palate, fistulotomies, sensory processing disorder, glasses. He has glasses. We've had ear operations. We've had the works. He is speech delayed. He has feeding issues. And our family has been very, very challenged. Recently, actually, during this challah project that we started, we also got an epilepsy diagnosis. So our new challenge is seizures and epilepsy. And through our journey of a couple of years of high stress and health challenges, we have been through a lot as a family. But what inspired this project is that throughout our challenges, we unexpectedly met the most wonderful people on our journey that came into our lives just at the right time. And we had incredible people who really showed us the true power of kindness and the true power of a mitzvah that is from the heart, giving from the heart when you don't expect in return. So from getting challahs at my doorstep to meals from people I didn't even know. It feels to me now that there's a place, especially now during this tough time for so many people, to pass on that kindness. And we could all use a smile, and we could all use some joy. So what my project is now about is about giving to those who need it, and they might probably don't even know they do. So at the moment, what we're doing is we have people, women from the community baking challahs. We are packing them, putting them together, writing a kind note, putting bows and ribbons on our challahs, so it's happy, so it's beautiful, so it's well received. And we are going to the doors of isolated, vulnerable, and elderly people to say, we're here, the Jewish community is thinking about you, and we are thinking about you this Shabbos, this Yontif, and you are not alone. We are aiming to put a Jewish face at the door, not just a driver. And not only is it about challah, but it's and Shabbos, but it's about a Jewish face, it's about joy, it's about a gesture. And we're hoping now that we can continue to do that for special needs families or for families having health challenges. And unfortunately, there's so much of that at this time. So we have bakers. If there's anyone in the community that wants to bake or wants to pack and support us, we are open there. We are in need of volunteers. We have some young, amazing volunteers who are helping us, and we also having people who are volunteering because it's giving to them more than it's even giving to the recipient. So it's about a volunteer giving. It's about me passing on my kindness and my story, and the whole process of what giving is. So not just for the recipient, but for the giver. So I'm hoping that my story of my family can bring some inspiration to others, and that we can share smiles and joy. So even in my situation at this very moment where I'm dealing with a new diagnosis, I hope we can, instead of making that always the focus, I hope that my journey can mean more to someone else. And thank you all for having me.
Amen, amen. That was very uplifting to hear from you. And please, God, through the merit of this magnificent act that you're doing, your little boy, what's his name?
His name is Raziel.
Raziel Ben, and your Hebrew name?
Maya.
Raziel Ben Maya should receive a full refuah shleima, and that before Hashem seals the deal on the year that we have, that it should be a year where you hear good news that your little boy should do so well, and that your project should also touch so many people. And it's so inspiring to hear what you're doing in the face of something that's been such a challenge, how you have uplifted this process to give to others. Thank you so much for coming on to speak to us. And I believe you of our ladies, Sarit and Meg, are helping to distribute that. So Sariti and Megs, if you're on this chat, a big shkach to you. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. And what I should have mentioned is that it's called Challah to Share.
Challah to Share. So if you can maybe leave your phone number in the chat so people can be in touch with you.
Wonderful.
If they like to do. And obviously if people are making challahs and they have a spare one to give each week or whenever they bake, that could definitely go to good use. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, so now it's my turn. So this is the challenge of going last, hoping that everybody is still with us and ready to learn a little bit more. At the turn of the century, when Jewish people were going to America with a promise and a hope for a better future, many Jewish observant people were challenged with how they would make a livelihood. They were told that if they didn't pitch up to work on Shabbos, they didn't need to pitch up on a Sunday. And at that time, people were working a 7-day week. Many people, unfortunately, committed to their salaries, committed to earning a living. And unfortunately, Shabbos became a casualty of this. There was one man who was an exception. This man was very talented. And even though he had these special talents and workmanship, he still couldn't maintain the same job. So what happened was, every Friday, when he would go to work, his employer would say to him, "You don't come to work tomorrow, don't come on Sunday. And this man had a strange request. He said to his employer, instead of giving this over to me verbally, can you please write this out for me on a pink slip? And this happened week after week as this man was employed and then again fired. A few months later, it was the Chag of Sukkot, and his family was preparing the sukkah and decorating the sukkah. And he said to his children, as they were about to do the last finishing touches on their sukkah, he said, wait, I have one more decoration. And what did he do? He went to get all those pink slips that were written on that he was going to be fired because he chose to keep Shabbos. And this is what this man said to his children. He said, my children, with an inner joy that was full of his spiritual greatness, he said, this is the most glorious decoration that we can put into our sukkah. For with these, we are declaring that we work for no one other than the boss of all bosses, that we work for none other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In this time where we leave our homes and we come out to be in the sukkah, what we are doing is we are saying we don't want to focus on the material promises that our homes and our lives give us. Those sort of promises of our material possessions are fleeting. You can feel that you want to invest in things financially, and God forbid tomorrow they could be gone. What is the one investment that is not fleeting, that we have forever? That is our essence. That is our neshama. From knowing that not only do we only work for the boss, that we come from the boss. In the moments where we sit inside our sukkahs, and if you're able tonight or tomorrow when you're in your sukkah, to imagine that Hashem is enveloping you here and that we're not alone. We are never alone. When we look up at the schach that seems so dark, when we peer through, we can still see the stars. We can still see a glimmer of hope and of illumination. And that's what Kalita spoke about so magnificently. Through something that felt so dark for her, she could still see that there was something to uplift and that there was something that could be done. When we sit in our sukkahs, we are remembering the time when we were in Hashem's embrace in the desert. There was a closeness that we felt that we didn't have to work so hard to remember. As the cloud of glory moved, the Jewish people would then know it's time to go, it's time to stop, it's time to camp. And in that way, on Sukkot, the lesson that we are trying to keep with us is that Hashem is always with us. We have to stop and be mindful of it and feel it and connect to that. As Jewish people, the light can be dimmed. Sometimes we can be going through terrible darkness, but the light is always visible. That is the message that we have as the Jewish people. This is something that is etched so permanently on our psyches, on our identity of who we are, that no matter if things feel dimmed, there is always that glimmer of light, that we are always connected to Hashem, that we always have this incredible essence. That's our neshama that Hashem breathed into us and gifted us with. When we feel such a strong connection to our neshamas and to our essence and to our purpose and to the way that we are living our lives, that is how we come to experience true joy and true happiness. It's a strange thing that we're commanded this week. We are commanded with an emotion that we should feel joyful and happy. The Vilna Gaon says that out of the 613 mitzvahs, the hardest mitzvah for us to truly fulfill is this mitzvah of feeling happy during the 7 days of Sukkot. It becomes a challenge. I've even felt that it's become a challenge after such a climax of Yom Kippur, where we've come to a point where we've, please God, worked hard during the month of Elul. We feel like we've come before Hashem and made him king on Rosh Hashanah. We've had the Aseres Yemei Tshuva to redefine our goals, to look at where exactly we want to see ourselves going and moving in what direction for the coming year. We then come to Yom Kippur where we are cleansed, we are clean through and ready to proceed. And then we come into these beautiful days of Sukkot. But sometimes it's not so easy to maintain that sense of inspiration or to maintain that sense of joy that we'd like to. So the way that we are able to do that and the way that we are able to peak our happiness comes from reliving moments where we feel connection and moments of achievement. Our ultimate connection is with Hashem, but we also feel immeasurable happiness when we connect to other people. When you're sitting with somebody and having a meaningful conversation with them, or if it's on a phone call, or if it's on a WhatsApp even, you feel that connection to them. The Orchat Tzadikim says that happiness is never about having, it's about being. And that's another reason of how we're trying to connect to the sense of happiness on Sukkot, is because we are leaving our haves. We are leaving the fact that we are attached to our material world and we're coming into our sukkah where we are forced to be, where we are forced to see what that happiness is. So building onto this idea of what the Orchat Tzadikim says about how happiness is about this connection, about going deeper. How do we see this in the Torah? We see it through the number 7. Why the number 7? If we look at an object has 6 sides. It has 2 sides, it has a front and a back, and a top and the bottom. But what happens is that if we only look at the surface, we're missing this inner dimension. And the inner dimension is the 7th layer. So an example of this, if you're very close to somebody and somebody says to you, what do you love about that person? You would never name something that was on the surface. You would never say, I love them because they have blue eyes. You would say, I love this person because this is somebody that I feel is moral, someone who's compassionate, somebody who is patient, somebody who is benevolent. And this is how we find that we can maintain and hold on to this happiness by tapping into what is at the core of each person we meet, and most importantly, of what is happening at the core within us. When Sukkot ends and we go out into the rest of our year, we don't want to feel that we're coming into a dip. We want to feel that we are amplified with inspiration to now move forward. So to recap on those 2 points, on having Hashem as boss, knowing that he is the boss that we work for, and when we want to feel this true sense of joy and happiness, it's about connecting to our essence, which feels its greatest joy when it is connected to the boss. Tomorrow night, please God, we will enter into the Chag of Shmini Atzeret. So we come into our sukkahs and we still eat in our sukkahs, but we don't say the bracha of Leishev Basukkah. So what is the reason for this? There are many explanations, but one beautiful idea that I saw brought down by the Baba Rebbe clarifies the purpose of this custom. When Yaakov Avinu left Haran, where his parents' home was, the pasuk says that he left twice. Why did he leave twice? It says that he did this because he realized that he was leaving Eretz Israel. He was leaving his parents' home and he was leaving this place of incredible kedusha, of incredible holiness. He wanted to go to have one last shot of spiritual energy and of sanctity. And this is why we come back to our sukkahs again tomorrow. We also know that Hashem invites us one last time just to be us and the Jewish people and Hashem and none of the other nations. But this idea of coming back to the sukkah again allows us to have a moment to meditate on the fact that we want to come back and we want to bring down as much of the holiness that we can from this time, this incredible long process from starting at Rosh Chodesh Elul, and see how we can schlep that into our year and make sure that we hold on to that. So that's something that we can think about tomorrow when it is Shmini Atzeret. As Jewish people, we know that our connectedness is so invigorated by the way in which we do our mitzvahs, the way that we build our sukkahs, the way that we sit in our sukkahs, the way that we shake our lulav and esrog, how we prepare for our Shabbos meals, how we dress, how we speak, And we have so many opportunities to do this. And I wanted to end off with a story on Simchat Torah that I feel illustrates this point on how, as the Jewish people, we are so committed to our love of our mitzvahs, and how we can also bring in this beautiful energy of joy into our sukkahs with us. There was a 9-year-old boy that was walking home from shul with his father on Shmini Atzeret. His father looked at him and could see that the little boy looked troubled, and he asked him what was wrong. The little boy said, "Daddy, do you think we could bring one of the Sifrei Torah from shul home so that mommy could kiss the Torah?" And the father just replied immediately and said no. The little boy spontaneously burst out crying, and the father could see how upset the little boy was. This little boy's mom was at home, terminally ill with cancer, and this little boy wanted to see his mom's joy at kissing the Torah one more time. The rabbi of the shul, Rabbi Yonah Fradkin, was informed of this distressed child and his wish, and he decided that he was going to act on this. This mommy at home, who was nursing her bed sores and her IV drips, wasn't like other mommies that was able to go and buy her clothes, new shoes and socks for Chag, and a new tie, and prepare delicious food, and prepare the home beautifully for Chag. She was stuck at home, and the little boy could see how she was falling more and more into this terrible depression. Her husband and her 2 little boys, one was 6 and one was 9, left for shul on the morning of Simchat Torah. While they were gone, she lay in her bed and she began to hear familiar songs and familiar music. She closed her eyes and she imagined her 6-year-old on the shoulders of her husband, and she imagined her 9-year-old dancing with the bochrim at shul. And she was going into this beautiful visualization, and then she noticed that the music was getting louder. And she opened her eyes, and through her window, she could see the entire community of her shul was standing outside her window. Men wearing their talesim, women pushing prams, people dancing around with the Torah, coming to uplift her and to give her some sense of what Simcha really could mean. The tears started streaming down her face as she watched the men do the hakafot around the Torah. And the people came into her home with well wishes and the biggest refuah shlema wishes that she could have ever imagined. 3 months later, this woman succumbed to her illness, but not before she discovered this newfound simcha that carried her through the last few months of her challenges. And with that, I'd like to bless all of us that we should feel, experience, and take with us what true simcha means. As Chaya said earlier, it's about that joy. It's about the dancing. And if we take that feeling of how we are also able to express our simcha externally, there's always something that can never change our internal simcha. And that internal simcha is about how we are connected to Hashem, how we only serve the boss. We are employers of the boss. And please God, we shouldn't only feel the embrace and the togetherness, and that we are not alone from Hashem, not only today and tomorrow as we sit in our sukkahs for the last time, but please God, that feeling of accompaniment should be with us always. And please God, everybody's years should be with only revealed good, with revealed sweetness and revealed blessings. And please God, very soon we can all sit together in the shul with our delicious tea and coffee and maybe mon cake, cheesecake, and Lauren's yummy bulkas and whatever else everybody else is thinking about. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. And we'll be ending off with another song. Beautiful. There's got to be another one. Sorry. I know it wasn't on the program, so not to put you on the spot, but if you'd feel like singing another song, I could definitely say from me and my girls would be very happy to hear another song. What do you say, girls? Or,
Yeah.
or you can just say, no, you haven't prepared it. Oh. Why is it so?